She's a Democrat. They're going to vote for Biden. I'm not surprised about that. I am surprised that in the year of our Lord, 2024, there is a public relations agent for Hamas sitting in the United States Congress.
Ilhan Omar there took this opportunity and your very important platform to say that Hamas was the good actor here. She's trafficked in anti-Semitic tropes that seek to strip Israel and the Jewish people of their sovereignty, their identity. I don't trust her opinion on this issue at all. And listen, there are important voices for the Palestinian people. She's not one of them.
And I think at the end of the day, the important voices for the Palestinian people should be determined by SC Cupp. I think it's up to her in who gets to represent the Palestinian people and speak out in their interests. That was insane. That was live on CNN. That wasn't like OAN, that wasn't Newsmax, that wasn't realpatriot.gun news or anything. That was a CNN panel filled with people who heard Scott Jennings, former George W. Bush White House official, claim that a sitting congresswoman is some sort of PR agent for Hamas. And everybody just sat there and thought, yeah. And then when SC Cupp decided to say something, she buttressed his argument. She says, yeah, no, she's the worst. She's terrible. She's anti-Semitic. No one should listen to her. That wasn't Fox. That wasn't The Five. That wasn't Gutfeld. That was CNN blatantly spreading casual Islamophobia. Before we continue with the story, we depend on members to keep on going. Don't wait. Click join now on YouTube. And look, thankfully, some people did rise to her defense. Unfortunately, they weren't on that panel. So, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tweeted, how on earth is this kind of blatant Islamophobia so casually accepted without pushback? This is shocking. And it's casually accepted without pushback because you are just allowed to be Islamophobic on the news. And I'm not saying right-wing news, just any news. You can say whatever you want about Muslims, about the Palestinian people, and you're probably gonna be fine. You can do it in the news, you can do it in politics. We've had multiple, she is getting attacked as being anti-Semitic because 4 years ago, she talked about being all about the Benjamins. And when she tweeted that, that's it for the rest of her life. She's more anti-Semitic than Marjorie Greene talking about the Rothschilds setting off orbital lasers and things like that. So that's what they've agreed on. Meanwhile, we have congresspeople who were interviewed in the halls of Congress last week saying that the Palestinian people should be wiped out. Not a metaphor that you tried to twist into being about no longer there being an Israeli state. You have Donald Trump said the IDF needs to finish the job after killing 30,000 plus civilians. Do you see the imbalance in the scales here about what's acceptable? And I want to remind you, as insane objectively as that is, in particular, for that to be the way that the majority of the CNN panel greeted Ilhan Omar's comments, coming after this interview.
If the election were held today, would you vote for Joe Biden? Can you confirm that he would have your vote today?
Of course, democracy is on the line. We are facing down fascism. And I personally know what my life felt like having Trump as the president of this country. And I know what it felt like for my constituents and for people around this country and around the world.
And do you think your constituents ultimately will come to the same conclusion that you did? The tens of thousands who voted uncommitted.
The uncommitteds have been very clear. They want a change in policy, and we've seen that. Within 3 days, you had the vice president using the word ceasefire. We now have the president saying there is a red line if Israel goes into Rafah, that he is going to condition aid. So there has been a significant progress.
Obviously, that was all radical. What an extremist Ilhan Omar is. Are you gonna support Joe Biden for president? Yeah, I will, for very reasonable, logical reasons. I disagree with him on this policy. I am advocating for him to change the policy. I'm doing that in an incredibly peaceful and reasonable way. At the end of the day, though, I don't want Donald Trump to be president because he's literally a fascist and he's an existential threat to myself, my people, and our nation and our form of government. So I will support Joe Biden. But I also want to point out that the campaign that we waged in the uncommitted vote has already seemingly borne fruit. which is good, not just for us, but for everyone, because many Democrats don't support Joe Biden's position on this. And this campaign appears to have pushed him in a direction where he's going to reassure those people that maybe he doesn't have as radical of a position as he had led them to believe previously. So all of this is utterly reasonable. That interview ends. They transition to the panel that includes the Abby Phillips, I think, who was doing the interview, and now she's a PR person for Hamas. There's some radical stuff happening in American politics. I don't think it's the words of Representative Ilhan Omar. What are we supposed to do? If you believe that the president is sitting silently by as a policy is pursued that's killing thousands and thousands and thousands of men, women, and children, just piling up an ever-increasing mountain of child corpses, what are you supposed to do? I mean, that's not a rhetorical question. I already have their answer. You're supposed to shut the hell up about it. That's clearly what you're supposed to do. Because if some of you, 100,000 of you, vote uncommitted, which doesn't even lose Joe Biden the state, let alone the primary, doesn't get Trump elected, but does send a signal, if the polls weren't already, that people don't support Joe Biden's position on this, that's radical, that's dangerous, that's anti-Semitic. What the hell are you supposed to do? You know, it's just so ironic when we go years of the Democrats saying like, why are the young people so apathetic? Why don't they get involved? Why don't they care about anything? No, not that thing. Don't care about that. Don't care about that objective life or death issue. It's inconvenient 8 months before an election for you to give a damn about that. It's people living their values. I'm sorry that that's so inconvenient, that comes off as so extreme and radical to you. She's already said she's gonna support Joe Biden. It is incredibly likely that the vast majority of those who voted uncommitted are going to support Joe Biden. What more can they give you? Are they still allowed as a treat, free will, perhaps to disagree a little bit, to want to put some pressure on an issue that's incredibly important to them?